Half a day Guam, I'm Jason Salas. Now, there is a very, very big decision that's going to be made next Monday, and it has nothing to do with the football games, although that's important too. But this is directly going to impact the private sector right now. The legislature has a variety of proposed legislations in front of them. Tae Oh is the chairman of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, and Tae and his colleagues there at the chamber are going to be watching what the legislature decides very, very intently. Because Tae, this is the future of the business privilege tax, which, as you've said many, many times, is a long-standing issue, and whether it goes down to from 5 to 4.5 to 4 over the next two successive fiscal periods and everything like that. I would dare say these are real dicey times for you, man.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, it's been a roller coaster year for me. I'll tell you that for sure. Um, Trying to spearhead this initiative has always been at the front and center of the chamber's objective, and we're finally right at the doorstep. So we want to make sure we could talk to the lawmakers and let them know, hey, the private sector really needs some help right now, and we need some relief so that we could kind of get our economy and private sector jump started again.
Absolutely. And you wrote this wonderful newsletter that you distributed over email this morning. And as a business student myself, and when I was getting my MBA, we think of everything in terms of like case studies, right? And I'm going to quote from your newsletter real quick because I thought this passage was key. The solution to the government's challenges lies in improving financial management and prioritizing the collection of revenues owed, rather than continuing to burden the people of Guam with higher taxes. In this case, business owners. I think that is the key argument, and certainly there are pros and cons you can make from your position as the chairman of the chamber, as
Correct.
well as the government and everything like that. So I'd like you to make your case about how that continues to be the core issue right now of better financial management rather than revenue derived from taxation.
Yeah, just a few days ago, don't forget that, Jason, there was an article put out and it was talking about how GovGuam has a revenue surplus of close to $74 million, and that's this fiscal year. So when you're kind of looking back at what's been going on within our public sector, of course, GovGuam's been flush with cash within the past few years. Tax collection has been great. But then when it comes to tax reduction or tax relief for the private sector, they claim that our public school, our public hospital still needs a lot of help. Um, these are standing issues that's been there ever since 7 years ago, since BPT was at 5%. So to now claim that they're going to have a dedicated funding for GMH and for schools at this point, when the private sector has been bearing the cost for 7 years, I just don't think it makes any type of budgeting, budgeting. Uh, I don't think it makes sense for the private sector to be continually bearing the cost.
Mhm. And I was covering the Guam Chamber of Commerce meeting that you had the other day, and capitalism, it seems from the attendance, from the enthusiasm of the membership, from yourself giving the opening meetings and kind of like really setting a tone for that. Capitalism is alive and well on Guam. There are many people who are excited to start businesses, people who are already in the enterprise level happily are running them. But at the same time, you said we don't need what is could be, like very devastating additional burdens to our bottom line.
Yeah, you see on the streets right now, you drive on Marine Drive and you see how many shuttered businesses. There's talks about some major retailers that are planning on pulling out of Guam right now. We need to have a healthy private sector that could support government services and put taxes towards the public sector. But without a healthy private sector, I don't know where the public sector is going to be able to get at additional tax revenue. They've been doing well, and the fact is that the military buildup has really helped government finances within the past few years. I think now is time to help out the private sector. Now, I know there are shortfalls, definitely. When you hear about these surpluses, you tend to think like, where's all the money going? And the fact is, just a few months ago, GMH lost funding, about $10 million in ARP funding. I don't think we have a, I don't think we have a tax revenue issue. I think we have a not spending issue at this point, seriously. We need to make sure we budget properly, and we need to make sure that GMH is fully funded. That's always been the chamber's position, is that GMH needs to be fully funded, DOE needs to be fully funded. But is at this point to claim that now the private sector is trying to take away from the schools or the hospital, I just don't think that's reasonable, and I don't think that's fair.
Mhm. Now, let me ask you, Tay, because another thing that we think of as, as business thinkers and everything is, of course, we plan for contingency because we don't like surprises. I mean, and, ambiguity is going to affect our decisions, one way or the other every single day. But have you actually talked to the membership or, even with the leadership about what if it just doesn't happen? What do we do, I don't want to be melodramatic, but like in a doomsday scenario, where do we go from there?
Yeah, of course. Those are things that we've always considered. If the budget bill doesn't pass this, and if the GRT reduction doesn't pass exactly according to the plan that we have, I think we have contingencies in place. Of course, the business community is happy with any type of relief, but at the same time, we feel that this is the relief that is owed to us, and this is the relief that was promised to us many years ago. Remember, this was supposed to be a temporary tax increase, but it stayed for 7 years.
Mm.
Um, and so, if the budget bill doesn't pass, if the BPT isn't exactly reduced to the rate that the private sector feels is justified, then of course we're willing to work with the senators, and sit down with them and figure out a plan from there.
Let me ask you that because in the two times that I've interviewed you about this, which have been fascinating conversations, have you actually had an audience with the governor herself or with like some of the committee chairs from the legislature to really get FaceTime with them and like share your concerns or hopefully collaboratively develop some sort of amenable solution?
Of course, this has always been a collaborative effort. This is not something that only the chamber has been pushing. It's something that the chamber has been working closely with the legislature.
Mhm.
We haven't actually sat down with the governor's office concerning this, just because we understand their position on it, and we want to respect that. But the legislature position has always been, especially with the majority, has always been, yes, some type of relief is definitely necessary for the private sector right now.
Okay, so what would be the message that you give out to your membership and the business community ranging from sole proprietorships and the mom and pop operations all the way up to medium level businesses and maybe, even up to some of the larger um eh, concerns here on the island and everything about, how critical it is, a big, basically Big Monday, let's call it that.
Yeah, we've been communicating as much as we can with our membership. I'll tell you that. We've been letting them know, updating them on what's been going on, but also we've been notifying them about the latest information. Everyone is aware that the override vote is coming up for session on Monday, and all eyes are going to be watching that legislative session to ensure that the override passes.
Mm.
So yeah, of course, we have our small business sector, but also our large businesses are obviously taking a very keen look at what the latest update is going to be.
Okay, and then before I let you go, Tay, I want to quote one more time from this excellent newsletter you wrote. Quoting Tae Oh in his own words, reducing the business privilege tax, he writes, is more than just tax relief. It is a statement that Guam values its private sector as the engine of growth. As a chairman of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, please feel free to go ahead and, extrapolate on that.
Yeah. So as I mentioned so many times, the private sector is the bloodline of all economic activity here on Guam. There's been, talks about the buildup. There's been talks about, public-private partnership. You know, a lot of the innovation is being provided. A lot of the solutions are also being provided by the private sector. Don't forget that, right? Now, without a healthy private sector, the government services can only provide services to a certain extent. They have to partner up with the private sector when it comes to construction, when it comes to shipping. These are all private sector responsibilities that we serve the community. And we believe that without a healthy private sector, it's going to be difficult for services and products to continue to flow to flow into Guam.
All right, Tate. So, final question: is this purely a mathematical, a financial problem at hand, or is it equal parts financial policy making and social engineering of what businesses have to like, adapt to or, accustomed to or even lobby for?
I think it's everything, Jason. I don't think it's only a financial issue. I think it's a social issue also. Um, you look at a lot of the companies right now, and we have a hard time retaining employees. Don't forget that. One of the things I committed to with my own team over at the companies I run is that with the reduction in BPT, well, provide them the we're going to provide them the salary increases we promise. Although, it may not be 22%, I'm hoping that we could be comparable to what Gov Guam's been paying. Don't forget, the private sector hasn't had a raise in many years, and also because we've been struggling, right? But we're hoping that this relief can provide the private sector some type of breathing room so that we could take care of uh, our own staff and team.
Okay, well, Tae Oh, chairman of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, we wish you and your colleagues the leadership as well as the membership. Might be many messages sent over the weekend and everything, and certainly many eyes glued to YouTube on Monday as the legislature goes back into session and makes what is going to be a very, very big decision for the private sector. So we'll catch up with you in one way or the other.
Yes. All right.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Tae.